Hi friends, today we're going to take a look at neomorphism or neomorphic design in Adobe After Effects. Before we start, please don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that bell icon for notifications. Let's dive in. I did two examples of this design. One is a title screen, which looks good. It looks okay. You can live with it. But where I think this style really shines is in UI design. So let's jump in and see how we can do this. First, I'll make a new solid and it'll be a gray color. It could be something like this, or you could play around with your values. I'm going to lock this layer and then I'm going to make a rectangle. And I'm also going to round the corners of this rectangle as well. That looks fine. Right, so let's start layering our effect. We can call this button. And let's add a drop shadow. For this drop shadow, I want it to be around 50% opacity and a lot of 5 here. We could pull it back a little bit to probably 3. I want this to be a contact shadow, if I can spell it correctly. And I can even reduce the softness a little bit more to like around 3. And that looks pretty good. So let's duplicate this again, and this could just be, we'll call this shadow and we'll make this 7. These numbers are subjective, so you could use whatever numbers you feel work or what works for your project. So let's duplicate this one more time and we'll call this highlights, and then we'll make this white and we could just push it to the other direction, and it's looking pretty good already. So we have a highlight and we have a shadow. I think we could reduce this to like 40 and bring this down to 20, and let's play with the distance. That's too much. Let's do 10. That looks good. So let's twirl these down, and I'm going to throw in a bevel alpha, and I'm going to drag this to the top and make sure the highlights and the bevel are in the opposite direction of the shadow, and the bevel is already at right about where we need it to be, but I think it's too pronounced, so I'm going to dial it back a little bit. So I'm going to try, I don't know, 1, see if 1 works. Probably 0.75. That looks pretty good. Light intensity, I'll do 0.45. And that's it. We made our first shape. So this is an extrusion out of the material. That works pretty good. But what if we want to do a extrude inward or like a depression on the material? Let's try to do something like that. So let's duplicate this button, and this is going to go inward, and I'll leave the highlight and the bevel, and I'll remove the contact shadow, and I'll name this outward, and I'll call this inward. So what I've found works really well is to use layer styles and use a inner shadow, and we could reduce this inner shadow. So I'll use 3 and we can leave it at 5 at the moment. And let's switch the directions of this bevel, highlights and bevel. And that kind of works. So I'll reduce this to 50. And there we have it. An inward button or space. So let's do one more. And this one is going to be super easy. I'm just going to make a gradient. So it's going to be an outward gradient. And I'll bring this here. So we could just hit the Command or Option key on this and choose a gradient. And we could just double click this and probably let's make it kind of like hyper cool gradient. That looks pretty good. Right, so that is neomorphism or neomorphic design in a nutshell. With these two techniques, you could pretty much make something like this. I just use those two techniques to do the inward and outward effects for these neomorphic designs, and it worked pretty good. So I hope this was helpful. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon for notifications, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you very much.